Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
The warmer from the low. Welcome to lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. We've got an excellent podcast for you. We're going to be joined in segment number 2 by Dylan Rockford, who does such a great job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. We're going to talk about how wide open both of these leagues are in the National League and the American League with regards to the playoff race, who's eventually going to be able to win the World Series. It's been a wild year to say the least, so we're going to be chatting about that, and then we're going to be breaking down all the games that we've got on this Baseball Saturday, and then in the final segment, going to get you guys picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Saturday, as we do touch them all. If you do have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you have one or two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters EM, name does not matter, so as per usual, please do send these into the timeline. The other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated, and then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via the 5-star review. While I did not get in any Twitter/X questions, everything is powered by Edge Boost. Edge Boost is making sure that bettors are able to have access to the funds that they want whenever and wherever. Edge Boost is also making sure that 100% of gambling transactions do get approved. When you go to edgeboost.bet, put in that promo code of Greg, G-R-E-G. That'll get you a dollar for dollar match on your first deposit up to $25. Now let's take a look back at everything that we saw in baseball on Friday. Try to find some trends and try to get to know these teams a little bit better.
Games from yesterday is Greg buzzing about. Here is the rowdy recap.
The Philadelphia Phillies take it to the Walker Texas Rangers by a count of 9-1, as the Rangers are starting to become a little bit more of an over team. Still one of your best under teams in all of baseball, but Merrill Kelly, 4 1/3 innings, he allows 4 runs, all of which were earned, including a pair of bombs, as it was Kyle Schwarber, his 41st home run season, Brandon Marsh, his 7th, and then you had Robert Garcia come in for 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels, Cole Winn, 4 outs out of the bullpen squirrels, but Luis Carvalho, if you had the under in this game, he gives up 5 runs in the 9th inning. He pitched 2 innings in total, and he did allow a home run in this one to one Mr. Trey Turner, down for 12th home run season. Kudos for Sanchez, very good start. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Matt Strom, Orion Kirkering, Max Lazer, all able to end a scoreless inning. For the Minnesota Twins, they get the job done against the Kansas City Royals, this by a count of 9-4, as the Royals have also been one of your top under teams in all of baseball, but this one was quite overwhelming, as for Seth Lugo, he gives up 7 runs in 4 innings, including a pair of home runs. Cody Clemens, 13th home run season. Matt Wallner, his 16th. From there, Daniel Lynch gives up 2 runs in 2 innings. Taylor Clark, Sammy Long, both led a scoreless inning. And for the Royals, Bobby Witt Jr., 17th home run season. That comes off of Trevor Adams, and Joe Ryan gives one up to Mike Yastrzemski, 10th home run season. Ryan gives up just 1 run in 5 innings. From there, Adams in long relief, 2 runs allowed in 2 1/3 innings. Cole Sands, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless, and Brooks Kriske comes in from there. He gives up a run in his inning of work. For the Brewers, 71-44. They continue to have the best record in baseball. They take down the New York Metropolitans. Kodai Senga, 3 runs allowed in 4 1/3 innings, but he was hurt by his own fielding error and a catcher's interference by Mr. Francisco Alvarez, so that was not great. He did allow a home run along the way to Bryce Terang, 9th home run season. From there, the Mets bullpen did their job. Brooks Raley, Gregory Soto, along with Tyler Rogers, all in a scoreless inning. Ryan Stanek, pair of outside the bullpen scoreless. And for the Brewers, you did have Brandon Woodruff give up a pair of solo home runs. Starling Marte of the Marte Parte, 5th home run season, and Juan Soto is 27th, but for Woodruff, gives up just 2 runs in 7 innings. Abner Uribe, Trevor McGill from there, both led a scoreless inning. Brewers win this game despite going 0-6 with men in scoring position. The Cincinnati Reds are your best under team in all of baseball. How about 43 over, 68 unders, and 6 pushes? They fall to the Pittsburgh Pirates, so this by a count of 3-2. Chase Burns, a really good start. 10 punch-outs, allows 1 run in 6 innings. Graham Ashcraft, a scoreless inning, but Tony Santillan gives up 2 runs in the 8th, and that turned out to be the difference. Mitch Keller, he gives up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. Jordi Moreta, 4 outside the bullpen scoreless, and then Kyle Nicholas and Dennis Santana. They're both able to give you a scoreless inning, and for Brian Reynolds, both a double and a triple in this game. And for the Houston Astros, they go on the road, they get the job done 5-3 in extra innings against the New York Yankees. Hunter Brown allows 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings. From there, Bennett Sosa, 5 outside the bullpen scoreless. Brian Abreu, a scoreless inning, and then Josh Hader pitches the 9th and 10th innings. He does give up a run in the 10th inning that was unearned, but he did his part. And for the Houston Astros, pair of bombs as you had Mr. Jose Altuve get his 20th home run season, and Taylor Trammell his 3rd home run season. The Trammell home run comes off of Devin Williams in the 10th inning, who gives up 3 runs, 2 of which were earned. Cam Schlittler gives up 2 runs in 5 innings. Yuri De Los Santos, Camilo Doval, they combined for 3 scoreless innings, and Luke Weaver was able to give you a scoreless inning as well. For the Baltimore Orioles, they find a way to get the job done against the Athletics, this by a count of 3-2 as JT Ginn and Juice, 3 runs allowed in 5 innings, including a pair of home runs. Ryan Mountcastle, 3rd home run season. Adley Rutschman, his 9th. Ben Bowden, Tyler Ferguson, and Elvis Alvarado, they were in the building for a scoreless inning. But for Baltimore, pretty good start out of Tomoyuki Sugano, giving up 1 run in 7 innings. Yunier Cano gives up a run in an inning, and Keegan Aiken, he posts up a scoreless inning. For Nick Pivetta, facing his old team was not a good thing. 10-2, the Boston Red Sox able to get the job done over the Slam Diego Padres. As for Pivetta, he's able to complete 6 innings, but gives up 5 runs, all of which were earned, including a home run. Going deep for Boston, it was Mr. Wilder Abreu, his 21st home run of the campaign. And then for Boston, you also had Masataka Yoshida get a home run off of Sean Reynolds, 2nd home run of the campaign. For Reynolds, he gives up 5 runs while getting just 5 outs out of the bullpen, and Yuki Matsui, 4 outs out of the bullpen, scoreless. And you had, for the San Diego Padres, 12 men left on base. As for Boston, Walker Buehler, 6 scoreless innings, evades a lot of danger. As you had from there, Chris Murphy give up 2 runs in a 1/3 of an inning, but Garrett Whitlock, pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Isaiah Campbell and Greg Weiser, they were both able to give you a scoreless inning. You were able to have a lot of runs produced in the Tigers versus Angels game. As for the Angels, they fall by a count of 6-5. As for the Detroit Tigers, Tariq Skubal, but a little bit of regression here. 4 runs allowed in 4 2/3 innings, gives up a pair of bombs. As you had Zach Neto get his 17th home run of the season, and you had for Gustavo Campero, his 3rd home run of the season. Joe Adell sets fire to the rain on Troy Melton, his 24th home run of the season. For Melton, he gives up that home run, a solo home run in 3 1/3 innings. Kyle Finnegan, a scoreless inning. And for Detroit, Matt Vierling, good time for his 1st home run, a 3-run shot off of Reed Detmers, his 1st of the campaign, and Spencer Torkelson, his 25th. That comes off of the Professor Kyle Hendricks, who gave up 3 runs in 5 innings. From there, Brock and Roll Burke, Luis Garcia combined for 2 scoreless innings, but Detmers gives up 3 runs in a 1/3 of an inning before Andrew Chafin, he's able to give you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. For the Miami Marlins, they keep trying to scratch their way back to 500, 5-1. They're able to take down the Atlanta Braves as Edward Cabrera, 11 punch-outs, allows a solo home run in his 8 innings of work. Jurickson Profar, 6th home run of the campaign. The Dodd father, Dylan Dodd, for the Atlanta Braves had 3 scoreless innings, but Rice Elder before then gave up 5 runs in 6 innings, including a bomb to Mr. Alberto Hernandez, 7th home run season, and Calvin Fauché, a scoreless inning for the Miami Marlins. The Cleveland Guardians do get the job done against the Chicago White Sox, this by a count of 9-5, as for Tanner Bybee, gives up 4 runs over the course of 5 1/3 innings. He does allow a home run going deep off of him. Brooks Baldwin, his 7th home run season. From there, Matthew Festa, he had a Fiesta, giving you a pair of outs out of the bullpen scoreless. Jacob Junis gives up a run in an inning, but Eric Zabrowski, Cade Smith, they both lend a scoreless inning, and for Aaron Savali, just absolutely smoked in this game. 9 runs allowed in 3 1/3 innings. From there, Mike Vasil, 3 2/3 innings scoreless, and Wilkman Gonzalez, 2 scoreless innings, but way too little, way too late there. And this was a case where the Chicago Cubs did not get off the bus with their bats. 5-0, they fall to the St. Louis Cardinals as Matthew Boyd gives up 3 runs in 5 innings. For the Cardinals, by the way, Michael McGreevy, 6 scoreless innings. Matt Savanson, Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien, they all lend a scoreless inning, and Jordan Walker gets his 4th home run of the campaign. That does come off of Ryan Brazier, who gives up 2 runs in his inning work. Nate Pearson was able to come in. He held down the fort for 2 scoreless innings for the Arizona Diamondbacks. They hold down the Colorado Rockies, who have now lost game number 85 of the season, 6-1 the final. Austin Gomber does get Gombered up. 6 runs allowed in 6 innings, including a pair of bombs. For Blaze Alexander, 2nd home run of the season. Coburn Carroll, his 24th. Nick Anderson, Juan Mejia from there, both lend a scoreless inning. But for Zach Gallen, he filled it up. 1 run allowed in 6 innings. Kendall Graveman, Andrew Selfrank, and Casey Kelly were able to come in and lend a scoreless inning. I believe Casey Kelly is of KBO fame, by the way. And this was great for the San Francisco Giants. 5-0. They take it to the Washington Nationals. Jake Irvin, 4 runs, 3 of which were earned in 5 1/3 innings. He gives up a pair of bombs as going deep for San Francisco. Rafael Devers, 21st home run of the season, just his 6th with the Giants. And Casey Schmidt, his 7th home run season. Matt Gage was the opener for an inning. He gives up nothing, and Kai Wei Tang, the bulk guy, was very solid. 5 scoreless innings. Joey Lucchesi, Jose Buto, Tristan Beck, they all end a scoreless inning. And for the Washington Nationals, Orlando Revolta, and out of the bullpen scoreless, and 2 1/3 innings for Senakusi Ogasawara. He gives up a run along the way. And you did have the LA Dodgers get the job done against the Toronto Blue Jays, this by a count of 5-1. As for the Blue Jays, they were able to get 10 hits in this game, but only 1 run, as Max Scherzer, solid start here, 2 runs allowed in 6 innings. He does give up a home run to Mookie Betts, 12th home run season, but you had 3 runs allowed by Brandon Little without getting it out of the bullpen. Louis Varland, Mason Flaherty from there, a scoreless inning, but for Clayton Kershaw, even though he gives up 7 hits in 6 innings, only allows 1 run. Anthony Banda, Ben Casparis combined for 2 scoreless innings, and you had Blake Trinan come in, hold down the 4th for a scoreless inning as well. And for Seattle, they take it to the Tampa Bay Rays, 3-2 the final. Drew Rasmussen, 6 scoreless innings. Garrett Clevenger from there, a scoreless inning, and then Griffin Jax gets jaxed up. He gives up 3 runs in an inning as he allows a 3-run bomb to Big Dumper Cal Raleigh, 43rd home run of the campaign. That was the difference, as Luis Castillo does give up a pair of solo home runs. Brandon Lau gets allowed 21st home run of the season. Junior Caminero his 31st in his 7 innings of work, but from there, Carlos Vargas, Matt Brash, you're both able to end a scoreless inning. Rare under, by the way, for both the Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners. Mariners now 61 overs, 52 unders, and 5 pushes, and the Blue Jays entered in the night 64 overs, 47 unders, and 5 pushes. So a little bit rare to see those teams go under, as they've been 2 of your best in all of baseball in terms of being able to generate some runs. And if you're looking trend-wise at what we're getting in Major League Baseball right now, it has been quite an underwhelming season, as right now the under rate in baseball is right around about 51.9%, 865 unders to 799 overs, with favorites hitting at about 56.9%, 981 and 742 on the money line. Meanwhile, if you look at the last 7 days in baseball, favorites hitting at 57.1%, 52 and 39 on the money line. Meanwhile, 37 unders to 49 overs over the last 7 days. So it's been a very overwhelming past week with 57% hit rate to the over. So that's what we're seeing in baseball right now, and that's where we're all getting trend-wise. Coming up next, how about if we do chat with one of our good friends, as we're going to be talking with Dylan Rockford of the Sports Gambling Podcast Network about what we're seeing league-wide and what we're all going to be getting on Saturday right here on the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now a part of the VSiN Family Podcast.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F-words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations, because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be joined by this man, as we've got Dylan Rockford aboard. He does such a tremendous job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at this great game that we all know and love of baseball. I know that he is very hard at work as well, taking a look at things on the combat sports front as well, as he does a great job with Axe Kicks Picks. I know that he is very hard at work, taking a look at all things for the upcoming football season, as he handicaps a little bit of everything over there at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, as I know that he does the Dream Wager Show as well. So he's got a lot of titles. He does so also well, and you're able to follow him on the old Twitter/X at RockWith2Ks24 altogether. And Dylan, great to get you aboard. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Always good to be on with you and talk about the game we love the most, baseball.
Oh, it certainly is a game that we both love so much. And when it comes to the landscape of baseball right now, I've been saying this last few weeks, and I really do mean it. It just feels like it's such an open season, because with the Dodgers at full health, they're the best team, but they are certainly a ways away from being at full health, and there's nobody really running away with things in the American League. I like the way that the Phillies look right now, but they still have some question marks even after picking up Yohan Duran. It just feels like we've got a lot of flawed teams, and it's going to be a lot of fun playoff races and a lot of fun playoff series, in my opinion, the next few months.
Absolutely. I was just on with Scott Reichel at the MLB gambling podcast, and we were talking about the Dodgers, and I don't know. I feel like everyone's been saying it for the last month or two. When is this team going to pick it up? When is this team? Because they have all the talent in the world. I think Freddie Freeman's been good. Shohei Ohtani's been all right. Mookie Betts, I don't think he's been that good. But what really worries me is that bullpen. That bullpen has not been good. We saw it in the last series against the Cardinals, and don't look now, but the Padres are just 2 games back, and this feels like another Dave Roberts 1 and out with this team in the playoffs. So I worry about the Dodgers. I would not be buying in on the Dodgers right now, personally. Not bought in on my Mets. I mean, I don't think they made enough moves, if I'm being honest, at the trade deadline. I really wanted us to go out and get a bat, but they have not looked good. Phillies, I think they're okay. They're playing around 500 baseball as well. I think the Milwaukee Brewers, I know a lot of people, they dock them because they don't hit the long ball that much, but they play really sound old school baseball, which I'm a fan of, so I'm a little biased, but this team is a wagon right now, especially at home. I think about a week ago, they had 56 hits in that series against the Nationals. It was insane. So this team is on fire. But one of the most interesting division races, I think, so far is this AL West. I mean, you got those 3 teams. I'm not sold on Houston. If I had to pick a team out of the AL West to buy in on right now, August 8th, I probably would either buy in on Seattle or the Rangers because of how good their starting pitching is in their bullpen. Outside of Framber Valdez, yeah, I like Hunter Brown, but I think they're just banking on, and I think a lot of people are saying, they have the experience, but I don't know, man. I like Seattle and I like Texas here.
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that with Texas, they're really picking up some steam because the big thing for them was that they just weren't hitting at the beginning part of the season.
Yeah.
They really didn't acquire a lot of bats at the deadline, but I think that their offense turning things around might be the biggest key in all of baseball. And it's a team that has really been good with their bullpen pitching as well, even though we talk so much about the starting pitching.
Yeah, absolutely. The bullpen has been amazing. It's, I think, second in the league right now with a 3.31 ERA. You got Jacob deGrom. I know he's had back-to-back kind of poor starts, but I think he's going to turn it around. They brought in Merrill Kelly as well at the deadline. So, and Bruce Bochy, you never know the magic he's going to bring in that postseason. We saw it a couple years ago, them winning the World Series. And I think when healthy, that's the big if, but Corey Seager is a top 5 player in the league. When healthy, he is phenomenal. So I like Texas. I like Seattle. I would buy in on them as opposed to buying in. And they're banking on Yordan Alvarez coming back. I don't think Carlos Correa is anything. I think he's kind of washed, if I'm being honest. I think he's on the back end of his career. So trading to get him back, I really don't think it's going to do much. Jose Altuve, he's okay in spurts, but I just think that the window's gone for this Houston team.
Yep, absolutely. And with this Houston team, they were making the ALCS for so many years. They were unable to do so last year. So I do find that to be interesting, though. It is a case where they're still leading the division, and they do have Framber Valdez on the bump on Saturday going against the Yankees team that they have had their struggles as well, and Luis Gil did not look good coming off the injury list. Right now, that's a total of 8, and with the Astros, they're about a minus 125-ish favorite. Want to get your thoughts here because I'm right there with you. I do think that the Astros are starting to fall off, but I just can't trust in Luis Gil until I see him give a good start.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, my numbers made him a minus 135 favorite. I got a minus 118 earlier in the day, but minus 125, that seems like a good price for me still. I know I just kind of poo-pooed on the Astros, but I do like them in this spot. I know both clubs aren't really playing the best baseball, but Framber Valdez is the better pitcher amongst the two. I know Valdez, he has struggled on the road this season, but I think he might be getting the Yankees at a good time right now where they are struggling to score some runs, and not to mention Astros are 13-1 straight up in Valdez's last 14 start. He's backed up by a top 5 bullpen where the Yankees bullpen is skeptical. With Devin Williams, you never know what you're going to get out of that guy. So I got to see it to believe it here with the Yankees. They are falling off a cliff and in a hurry right now. You got the Boston Red Sox who just slapped them. So I'm worried about this Yankee team.
Yeah, I think that's very fair to be worried about this Yankees team. Though the good news is you get Aaron Judge back, and that should be able to help out the offense moving forward because, man, without him, that was a little bit rough. Cody Bellinger has been relatively solid, but outside Cody Bellinger, not a lot of consistency there. But a man that is consistent is Dylan Rockford, and he's joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And no question, that's going to be an interesting game. And right now, this is a game without numbers in a lot of places. It's a Brewers against the Mets. It's expected to be Frankie Montas going for the Mets against Logan Henderson, but that is yet to be confirmed. How do you take a look at this one? Because for the Mets, it feels like they should have picked up a little bit more pitching at the trade deadline. I was a little bit surprised by that. I did like the addition of Ryan Helsley, obviously, but felt like they needed a little bit more. And for the Brewers, they just have everything working with these young pitchers that come up from Nashville and immediately produce.
100%. They don't have that one star guy, but everybody is serviceable. Logan Henderson, I think he's really good. He doesn't really go too much length, but he's fine. I think the bullpen is fine. And this Mets team, I agree. I said it earlier in the show where I just think the Mets didn't do enough. Yeah, they didn't do enough picking up pitching, but I don't think they did enough picking up the bats either. Francisco Lindor, he's struggled. Pete Alonso, he's just chasing this title to get 251. Juan Soto, he is the king of meaningless home runs, in my opinion. But yeah, I'm just worried about this Mets team right now. They are not playing good baseball. There's no heart. There's no pride on this team right now. There's just a bunch of smiles. There's no accountability either. Every time it's like, oh, there's long season. But the season's not getting longer. It's getting shorter. We're almost in halfway through August. So time is flying by. We almost got no hit the other day. So I do not trust the bats of the Mets right now. And the Brewers, like I said earlier, they're a wagon at home, 36-20. And Frankie Montas is terrible. He's terrible right now. So, yeah, no lines up, but my numbers did make the Brewers a minus 155 favorite. Might be a little high, but I still think the Brewers are the right side here. You can't back the Mets right now in good faith.
Yeah, with the New York Mets, it's been incredibly rough for them, to say the least, over the last few weeks. It's been up, down, all around, and I just can't trust in Frankie Montas if that is indeed who we're going to be getting on the bump there. And I know that the Marlins and the Braves are playing a double dip. For one of the games, it's a little bit TBD, but I want to get your thoughts here because I'm seeing a total of 8.5 with it being Sandy Alcantara against Eric Fedde, and I mean, I wish that I had a more complex handicap for you, but we've got two guys that have really struggled above a 5 ERA for both. Alcantara's over a 6 ERA. The Marlins have actually hit on the road. This 8.5, with it being a relative pick-up line on the money line, just feels way too low for this matchup.
Yeah, 100%. 8.5. My total came out to 9.4. I mean, I got to take the over here. Eric Fedde stinks. I'm sorry. He's not good. And we saw the old Sandy Alcantara in his last start. He was actually pitching pretty well and then had that monstrous inning against the Astros, gives up 6 runs, who aren't really the best hitting team, to say the least. And Eric Fedde, since coming over to the Braves, he's allowed 3+ runs in back-to-back starts. And lately, we've kind of seen high totals from both of these clubs. The over is 5-0 for the Fish in their last 5, and the Braves are 6-3 towards the over in their last 9 games as well. So 2 poor pitchers who you kind of want to stay away from, and both bullpens, I really don't trust them as well. But I think the Marlins do have the better bats here. I think we're going to see some runs. Over 8.5, I was expecting a 9, but I'll take the 8.5. I think we see some runs in this game.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I was seeing that 8.5, and it's shaded down to the under, too. And it's like, I don't know why, because, I mean, Eric Fedde has had a rough season. Sandy Alcantara, yeah, he won a Cy Young a few years ago, but that was a few years ago. That is not right now, as we do have one of our good friends, Dylan Rockford, joining me right here on the Baseball Betting Show. And then I do think that this one is going to be a relatively fun one as well. It's the Red Sox on the road against the San Diego Padres, with it being Michael King for the Padres against Lucas Giolito for Boston. And right now, the Pods are about minus 130, minus 140 favorites, and I love fading guys coming off the injury list. Michael King only made 1 minor league rehab start, didn't necessarily look sharp in it, and I feel like he's being a little bit overpriced just because Michael King at his peak certainly should be this level of a favorite. I just don't know what we're going to get out of him coming off the injury list, though.
Yeah, and surprisingly, Lucas Giolito has been serviceable. You know, you have some of those starts where Lucas Giolito, you scratch your head and say, that's the Lucas Giolito I know, but he's actually been pretty good this season, to say the least. And Michael King, I'm right there with you. I like to fade guys coming off the injured list. He only had that one start. Doesn't really go too much in length either. I know both clubs are pretty playing good baseball, but my numbers only made the Padres a -115 favorite. A -140, I get that they're home, but I like the Red Sox here. The pure value at +125. I'm seeing +130s out there. I know they're under 500 at home, but Giolito has been good. I actually like the under 2. I see some 8s out there. 7.5s are starting to pop up. My total came out to 7.4. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game. Historically, we've seen a lot of unders at Petco Park, and for the year, the under is profitable in San Diego at 32-22 for the year. So I think the value is definitely with the Red Sox, and I like the under as well.
Yep, I'm right there with you. With the Boston Red Sox, I feel like they're being a little bit undervalued. And again, if Michael King was at full force, I'd be willing to back the San Diego Padres here. Just don't know what we're going to be able to get out of him. And I think that this one is a relatively interesting one, as well as we just don't know what we're going to be able to get moving forward out of the Minnesota Twins, as it's Bailey Ober against Owen Cameron for the Kansas City Royals, a total of 8.5. And with the Royals about a -108 to a -115 favorite, how do you take a look at this one? Because I feel like one of the most disappointing teams in all of baseball this year has been the Minnesota Twins, and Bailey Ober, you just don't know when he's actually going to be making his starts because he's been so banged up, and when he has made his starts, he hasn't been that great either.
Yeah, I feel bad for the Minnesota fans. They're just punting on the season, and I feel bad for the season ticket holders who, they finally get a big accusation in Carlos Correa and then say, you know what, we're going to trade you. Have fun. And kind of just punting on the season. I think they traded like 10 or 11 of their guys, so it's been bad for them. I like the Royals here. -115 is a very favorable price. My numbers made him a -130 favorite. And Noah Cameron has actually been better on the road than he has been at home. 2.40 ERA. Batters are hitting under 200 against him. And in his one time against the Twins earlier this season, he only gave up 1 run in 6 innings of work versus this Minnesota team. Cameron is the much better pitcher. And personally, whenever Bailey Ober is, I know he just came back. He had that one start, but he is a fade for me. He's been terrible. Dating back to before he got hurt, 6 of his last 7 starts, he's given a 4+ run in 6 straight starts. Royals, this is a good opportunity to get the bats going a little bit here against Bailey Ober. They should win this game. I'll take them on the money line -115.
Yep, I'm in total agreement with you there. And Dylan, we do have all 30 teams in baseball in action on this Saturday. Anything else that you're going to be taking a look at? Anything else that is really piquing your fancy?
Yeah, one game that really caught my eye was that Philadelphia Phillies on the road against the Texas Rangers, Jacob deGrom and Jesus Luzardo. -132. I see -125, so money's coming in on the other way. Not know why. I get it. Maybe Jacob deGrom has had back-to-back poor starts, but my numbers made him a -145 favorite. I will take the Rangers here at home. Like you said earlier in the interview, they've been surging right now. This is a team you want to buy on. And I don't know about you, Greg, but I am not a fan of Jesus Luzardo. He is just up and down for the past 2 months, honestly. And Rangers are a team you want to back at home, and they're also really profitable as a favorite. 39-18 straight up as the favorite this season. I think Jacob deGrom, I'm not going to be on the side where you're going to continue to fade Jacob deGrom. He is too good, and he will find it. I think he's due for a bounce back here. And the Rangers, like I said earlier, they have a top 5 bullpen as well, which Phillies do not. So I'm going to take Texas here. I think they are the right side at -125.
Yep, I'm right there with you, and I do think that Jacob deGrom going to continue to be dominant, just like you continue to be dominant, my friend. Dylan, you're doing such great work over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, looking on so many different fronts, baseball, UFC, and so much more. So love to give people at home know what's all on tap for you and how people can follow along on social media and other platforms.
Yeah, we're just gearing up for football. Football is back with preseason, so we're gearing up and doing every preview over on the Dream Wager. So, we're getting ready for football. We're only about 14 days left of week 0. College football is right around the corner. We got UFC Apex card this weekend. We're locked and loaded, Greg. It never sleeps, just like we'll sleep when we're dead,
Yes, we certainly will. And you know what, for Dylan, he does such an amazing job taking a look at this great game of baseball, and he puts in the work and he gets the results. A big thanks to Dylan for joining me on the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. And coming up next, it is that time of the podcast to give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic.
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Breaking down every game, every day in Major League Baseball. This is the Baseball Betting Show. Here is your host, Greg Peterson.
And we're back here in lovely Las Vegas for the Baseball Betting Show with myself, Greg Peterson, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. Always great to be able to get Dylan Rockford aboard. He does such a great job over at the Sports Gambling Podcast Network, taking a look at baseball, taking a look at a little bit of UFC action with the Axe Kicks Picks podcast, and so much more. Every single time he joins me, he lends such great insights, and did so once again today. So a big thanks to Dylan for joining me in the last segment. Now it is that time of the podcast. I give you picks and analysis on every game on the betting board for this Baseball Saturday as we touch them all.
If a game is listed on the betting board, Greg has a side and a total on it, so it is time to touch them all.
Do note that as per usual, any changes that are made to these plays will be listed up on my Twitter/X feed at gunit_D1. We're going to be going in Las Vegas rotation order. This is where we go with the National League games first, then the American League games, any interleague games. Those are going to be at the bottom. That'll keep things all nice, neat, clean, and easy. The lone exception is we've got a double dip between the Marlins and the Braves, so I will just do both of those games together, especially with the fact that the first game on the board is 9:51, 9:52, with it being very much TBD with this one. This will be the early game for the Miami Marlins. They have yet to announce a starter. Then Hurston Waldrop is going to be getting the start for Atlanta, and then in game number 2, we do have numbers, and we do have a set pitching matchup, as it's going to be one Sandy Alcantara going for Miami, and Eric Fetty Wap is on the bump for Atlanta. We'll go into that game second. First things first, with the old TBD against Atlanta. Right now, a lot of places are projecting Ryan Gusto to be the starter in this one, and I pretty much put this as a pick'em. I made Ryan Gusto a -101 favorite, so I'd be betting whoever the underdog would be pretty much in this one, so that's a very easy handicap. And then 9 or less, I'll be looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. With Waldrop, he's a former first-round pick. He's got a lot of upside, just really hasn't been able to put it together at the big league level. Now, in the suspended game that they had last week, Waldrop actually looked pretty good, so there's something to be had there. I think that he was like a first-round pick out of Florida a few years ago. In that appearance, he had 5 2/3 innings. He allowed 1 run, so that's something that you do like to see. Now, if you look at the minor league numbers, because I'm just not going to put too much stock into a suspended game where he came off in pretty much a one-off, a AAA Gwinnett this year, 4.42 ERA, is getting 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, but he's very wild in terms of his command. About 5 walks per 9 innings. Even when he was pitching in college, he always had a little bit of an issue with regards to command, and right now they are expecting Ryan Gusto to be able to get the start for the Miami Marlins. And I mean, if you do get Gusto, and it would be his turn in the rotation, the last time he started was in July, so you should be all good to go here. He's posting up about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. He was a part of actually a trade deadline deal as well, and he should be able to give you some good length. He's appeared out of the bullpen, he's appeared as a starter, and has a 4.92 ERA, but a 4.13 fielding dependent, and he is backed up by a Miami Marlins bullpen that has been very rock solid since the beginning of the month of June. Top 8 in terms of bullpen ERA. These guys like a Lake Bakar, throw in there Ronnie Enriquez, Anthony Bender, posting up a sub-3.5 ERA. That has been amazing for this team, and for the Miami Marlins, it is a squad that has been able to do a nice job in terms of hitting on the road. They're averaging about 4.8 runs per game away from home. That's number 5 in all of baseball. This is despite the fact that they are a bottom 8 team in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis. They have not been able to deliver the deep ball outside of Kyle Stowers, who's up to 25 home runs, 370 on base, and Augustin Ramirez is up to 17 home runs. He's been rock solid as well, but just have a lot of guys that are finding a way on base, moving the line, like the bottom of the lineup. You've got a lot of guys sitting in that neighborhood of like a 240 to a 250. Javier Sonja. You've got Liam Hicks, who's more around about a 350 on base, so that's rock solid. Dame Myers, Connor Norby, guys like this. Otto Lopez Lopez are finding way on. And then at the top, Xavier Edwards, he's got a 360 on base, 300 batting average, steals some bags, love that. And for the flip side of the Atlanta Braves, it's been all sorts of rough this season for them. As for the Atlanta Braves, now they're back without Ronald Acuna Jr. once again, so that's not amazing. And you've had Matt Olson do a nice job being able to provide about a 360 on base, 18 home runs. He's been rock solid. You've had Marcell Ozuna, Austin Riley, and Sean Murphy. I'll give you 16 home runs, so Murphy hitting just a 221. The on-base percentage is a little bit better than that, but you need Michael Harris to give you better than a 257 on base. It's up to 10 home runs. He's been a little bit better with that regard, but Ozzie Albies, 9 home runs, hitting at 225. These guys have been not great, and for the Atlanta Braves, this has been a bullpen that has not been great. Bottom half of the big leagues in terms of ERA, you still do have a few guys that have been pretty effective. Tezbel Hernandez only both give you a sub 3.25 ERA. They pick up Kevin Harrigan as well, so that should be able to help them out a little bit more moving forward. But you've got Tyler Kinley, who's rocking north of a 5 ERA overall this season. Aaron Bummer has lived up to his name. He, Dylan Dodd, Rossiel Iglesias, all above a 4 ERA. So do you think they get some runs in this game? 9 or less, looking at the over 9.5 or higher, the under. Pretty much a pick'em game in my opinion. Whoever the underdog is, we're going to bet them on the money line. And then that other game was set numbers, 961, 962. Right now you've got darn near a pick'em with this one between the Marlins and the Atlanta Braves, with the Braves anywhere between a minus 104 to a minus 110, minus 112 to minus 105. Then around Miami with a total of 8.5. Under is minus 115 and the over is minus 105. I really don't understand why we've got a total of 8.5 here. I'm going to be willing to take a shot on the over, as I did set my total at a 9.2. Both of these pitchers have been absolutely awful thus far this season. Like I mentioned it, with the Miami Marlins, this team is a top 5 team in terms of runs per game away from home, so they've been able to pound out the runs when they've been on the road. Eric Fetty is right now just giving it up. He has given up at least 3 runs at each out of his last 7 starts. He's posting up about 5.3 strikeouts to 4.1 walks per 9 innings, 5.32 ERA, and when it comes to Sandy Alcantara, just a no good, very bad, terrible year for him. 6.44 ERA. If you look at the fielding independence, about a full point and a half under his ERA, but he's given up over 3 walks per 9 innings. He's been giving up a lot of hard contact as well. I do have the Miami Marlins as a bit of an underdog in this one because I'm just fading Sandy Alcantara at this point. I did set Fetty and the Atlanta Braves at a minus 111, so on this pick'em line, going to be looking at the Braves in game 2, and with this 8.5 total, I'm in on the over. 953, 954 on the card. The Washington Nationals are on the road against the San Francisco Giants. Brad Lord says, oh Lord, getting another start, and Carson Weisenhunt is on the bump for the Giants, and the Giants are a pretty sizable favorite, anywhere between minus 155 to a minus 164, and you're going to be getting in between plus 134 to a plus 141 on Washington. 8 is the total. The over is minus 120, and the under is even. With the Nationals, I did set them at a plus 136, so I'm going to be willing to dive in on this money line for Brad Lord. He has been able to be actually quite effective for the Washington Nationals. Problem is, he's actually their best bullpen piece, and now they need him to start. And for Lord, he's been going about 4 innings in a lot of his starts. He did have 5 1/3 against the Houston Astros recently. Not too much of a swing and miss guy. 7.5 strikeouts to 3 walks per 9 innings, but he's kept the ball in the yard. He's given up 0.7 home runs per 9 innings, a 3.42 ERA overall, and something that you always want to take a look at with these guys are sort of moonlighting as starters / coming out of the bullpen as well, how they do with regards to that role of being a starter. And thus far for Brad Lord, he's been able to do a pretty solid job as a starter, a 4.02 ERA, so giving up less than a home run per 9 innings. And for Weisenhunt, it's been 2 starts for him, so it's a very small sample size. Hasn't been bad. He's posting up an ERA of a 4.35. In 10 1/3 innings, he has allowed 5 runs. He's only been able to post up 7 strikeouts, but you take a look at what he did at the minor league level. In the minors, he was a pretty good strikeout guy, as he last season was able to get 11 strikeouts per 9 innings. Took a little bit of a dip this year, down to about 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, but a 4.42 ERA at the minor league level, which it doesn't sound great, but in the PCL, that's actually not too bad. He actually did a nice job mitigating hard contact out there in Sacramento. Allowing a home run per 9 innings is actually quite good, and he is backed up by a bullpen that overall this season for the Giants is in the top 7 with regards to ERA, but that is a little bit of a Medusa because that's back when you had Tyler Rogers and Camilo Duvall. Both of those guys are traded. Right now you've got Eric Miller on the injured list, so a little bit less than savory there. And then when it comes to San Francisco, you've been able to get some relatively good innings out of Randy Rodriguez, a sub 2 ERA. You've had Ryan Walker step up a little bit as he's posting up about a 4 ERA, but he, Spencer Bivens, Carson Seymour, just not getting a ton out of them. And for the Giants, this has been a bottom 8 team in the big leagues with regards to their run production. production. Now, I will say for Willy Adames, if you take a look at what he's been able to do recently, very rock solid. Post All-Star break, he has been hitting nearly at 260. He's been able to pound out 7 home runs in the last 30 days, so that's something that you do like to see. Matt Chapman, he's not hitting for a ton of average at a 229, but closer to about a 340 on base. He's up to 16 home runs. You've had Eloy Ramos give you 14 bombs. He's up to about a 350 on base as well. And then when it comes to the rest of the lineup, it's just a little bit of a hodgepodge. The catcher spot is really giving you nothing. The catcher spot with Patrick Bailey, Tyler Fitzgerald, throw in there as well. Someone like a Luis Matos. These guys hitting below 225 has been rough. And Rafael Devers, since he's come on over to the Giants, 5 home runs in 43 games with 225 average. So that has been a big giant flopperoonie. And for the Washington Nationals, this team is in the top 10 in terms of run production away from home. They are currently averaging about 4.6 runs per game. For some reason, CJ Abrams, who's hitting about a 270, he's been able to give the team 14 home runs. 11 of those bombs have come on the road this season. Josh Bell has been able to give you 13 bombs. He's been hitting north of a 285 over the last 45 days. Nathaniel Lowe's up to 15 home runs, but hitting just a 218. And for James Wood, overall for the season, 360 on base, 24 home runs, but I don't think that he's had a home run ever since the All-Star break. That said, you've got a few young guys that are stepping up and they're getting on base, like Robert Hassel, Dallin Lyle, Brady House. These are guys hitting in that neighborhood about a 250. They're just not really supplying a lot of boom. And for the Washington Nationals, this is a bullpen that's currently dead last in the big leagues in terms of ERA. You trade away Kyle Finnegan, Andrew Chafin, guys like that. So now you're left with the likes of Jackson Rutledge, PJ Poulin, Orlando Ribalta, Eduardo Salazar. So many guys that have an ERA above a 5. So that's been less than savory for this team. Do they think that you get a high-scoring game? But the Giants being this big of a favorite, I just can't get with at a plus 136 or higher, like in the Nats on the money line. And I'm in on the over, so I tell it at 8.6, 955, 956 on the card. It is the Cincinnati Reds, and yes, we're on to Cincinnati. They're onto the road. They're facing off against the Pittsburgh Pirates. We do know that Nick Martinez is going to be on this bump for the Reds, and right now it's looking like it's going to be a bullpen game for the Pittsburgh Pirates, as this game is off the board, as it's looking like Braxton Ashcraft is right now the projected starter over on CBS Sports, and he has been coming out exclusively in the bullpen. So I've got my handicap for this. I did set the Reds on the money line at a minus 126, so I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 125 there, a plus 127 or higher. Looking at the Pittsburgh Pirates and set a total of an 8.1, an 8 or less, I'll be in on the over, 8.5 or higher, the under. This has actually not been a terrible Pittsburgh Pirates bullpen, and for Braxton Ashcraft, about a 3.24 ERA coming out of the bullpen. He's been a nice multi-inning guy for this team, so that's not bad. They've been dealing with the injury to Chase Yogurt, which has been hurting them, but you still have Dennis Santana, who's been pretty rock solid. He could perhaps give you 2 innings. He's been posting up a sub-3 ERA. It's been mix and match in this bullpen all season long, but for the Pittsburgh Pirates, even without David Bednar, they still do have quite a few guys. They're able to go out there and they're able to hold down the fort. Carmen Molodzinski was a failure as a starter, but he's able to give you multiple innings. Isaac Madsen has been posting up a sub-250 ERA as well. The real issue for the Pittsburgh Pirates has been the offense. Currently dead last in all baseball in terms of run creation, as you've got 3 guys on the roster with over 5 home runs this year. Andrew McCutchen, Brian Reynolds, O'Neill Cruz, and for Cruz, he's hitting just a 208. Recognize that the on-base percentage closer to about a 305, but you just have a lot of guys hitting at 210 or lower for this team. Cruz, Emmanuel Valdez, Alexander Canario, Henry Davis, Jared Trollo, Jack Swiniski, just not giving you anything whatsoever. Tommy Pham is now actually hitting at 270, so that's been nice, and Isaiah Kiner-Falefa moves the line for you as well, so that's been a little bit helpful. Andrew McCutchen gives you about a 330 on base, but there's been a lot of underachievement with this team, and for the Cincinnati Reds, other than Ellie De La Cruz, you don't necessarily have that main masher in this lineup. For De La Cruz, 19 home runs, 355 on base. He's been great, but you've had Spencer Steer come along for the ride with 13 home runs. TJ Friedel, Gavin Lux, they find a way on base. Friedel, about a 375 on base, closer to about a 360 with Gavin Lux, and then Austin DeSay's kid has been able to give you 10 home runs. He's starting to see a little bit of dip in his average with about a 260, but all in all has been able to do a pretty solid job there. And for Nick Martinez, he's been posting up a 4.66 ERA, but what I like about him is that he keeps things out in front of him. He is giving up closer to about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings this year, but he gives up right around about 2 walks per 9 innings. Not going to give you a lot of strikeouts. He is below 7 strikeouts per 9 innings, but overall has been able to do a solid job holding down the fort, and he is able to rely upon a bullpen. That's about a league average thus far this season, as they did trade away Taylor Rogers, but you still have Emilio Pagan, Tony Santillan, both posting up an ERA below a 3. You've been able to get some relatively okay production out of Brent Suter and Luis May, between about a 350 to a 365 ERA out of both of those guys as well, so it's a very interesting ordeal here. I do think that for the Reds, they should be about a mid-sized favorite. Would be willing to go up to a minus 125 there, plus 127 or higher. Looking at the buck Broncos, and then an 8 or less, I'm in on the over 8.5 or higher. The under 957, 958 on the card. It is the New York Mets on the road against the Milwaukee Brewers, as we do know that it's going to be Logan Henderson on the bump for the Brewers. It is old TBD who's going to be on the bump for the Mets. This game is presently off the board, and when I was looking at the projected starters, it was showing one Mr. Frankie Montas getting the start for the New York Mets. And if you do indeed get Mr. Montas, I did set the Brewers as a pretty good size favorite. I had a minus 134, would be willing to go up to minus 133 there, plus 135 or higher looking at the Mets, and then made a total of an 8.8. So 8.5 or less, I'm in on the over 9 or higher, the under. If it is going to be Frankie Montas, it's just not been great for him, and Frankie Montas is pretty much where I'd be setting a bullpen game at. Heck, a bullpen game actually might get like a 5 or 10 cent upgrade compared to Frankie Montas because he has been that bad. 6.68 ERA, the 3-2 record, very, very deceiving. Now, if you look at the advanced summaries, he's been a little bit better, but still, 507 fielding dependent, 1.9 home runs allowed per 9 innings, not getting a lot of swings and misses with 8 strikeouts per 9 innings, and has given up a combined 12 runs over his last 2 starts, spanning 8 1/3 innings on the road against the Padres and at home against the San Francisco Giants. So, not amazing there, and for Henderson, he has been quite good when the Brewers have given him opportunities. 5 starts this year, a 1.78 ERA, 11.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and just all these guys that the Brewers are bringing up from the AAA ranks, they are just absolutely pumping, as with the Nashville Sounds, Henderson was getting 10.81 strikeouts per 9 innings. He was very much putting on a show out there as well. Now with the Milwaukee Brewers, they just have such a fascinating home and road split with regards to their offense, as for the Brewers, about 5.8 runs per game away from home, that leads the league, compared to 4.2 runs per game when they're at home. And for this Milwaukee Brewers lineup, you've had a lot of guys doing a nice job in terms of moving the line, getting on base. You just don't have a lot of power. As Christian Yelich, he's been able to headline things with that regard. He's up to 21 home runs. And then you've got Jackson Chourio along with Rhys Hoskins, where the lone 2 other guys that are belting out a double-figure amount of homers. But Chourio and Rhys Hoskins are both on the injured list. So they're doing this just with raw guys that are finding a way to get on base, steal some bags, and move the line. As you've got the likes of Bryce Harang, Yelich, who I mentioned before, Sal Frelick, William Contreras, Caleb Durbin, all between about a 340 to a 355 on base. Isaac Collins has been darn near a 400 on base as well. And for the Brewers, they've really figured out the bullpen. They were absolutely brutal towards the beginning part of the season. Now they're in the top 7 since the beginning of the month of June in terms of bullpen ERA. They've gotten back some key pieces like Aaron Ashby has been rock solid in the bullpen. He, Trevor McGill, Abner Uribe, Nick Mears, they're all posting up a sub 275 ERA. And for the New York Mets, it's been relatively rough with their bullpen. They do pick up Ryan Helsley at the trade deadline, so that should be able to help them out a little bit. But you've had Oscar Brzobin really fall down the toilet bowl. He's been posting up an ERA that is north of a 3.5, and with Diaz has obviously been very rock solid, even though sometimes gets a little bit sweaty with him out there on the mound. But you're going to need to rely upon Reed Garrett quite a bit. He's been able to give you a sub 275 ERA, and then Genesis Cabrera has been a little bit up and down. He's had about a 3.5 in terms of his ERA. And for the New York Mets, this is a very top-heavy lineup, as you've got a quartet of guys with 19-plus home runs: Brandon Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Pete Alonso, and Juan Soto. With Soto, give you a 382 on base, but the bottom of the fold, these guys like Mark Vientos, Brett Beatty, Tyrone Taylor, the entirety of the catcher spot, going to get 229 or lower. Beatty's up to 11 home runs, and Jeff McNeil has been able to give you about a 350 on base, but do think that the Brewers should be a nice size favorite here, willing to lay up to a minus 133 with them, plus 135 or higher. Looking at the Mets, and then 8.5 or less in on the over 9 or higher, the under. 959, 960 on the card was game 2 of Marlins versus Braves, so we go to 961, 962. It is the Cubs on the road against the St. Louis Cardinals. Andre 3000 Palante is on the bump for the Cards, and Colin Ray says hip hip hooray to getting another start. As for St. Louis, you're going to be finding them between even money to minus 105, minus 110 to minus 115 is that number on the Cubs, with a total of 8.5. The over is minus 125, and the under is plus 105. Seeing an eye out there as well. That under is minus 120, over is even, and did so by total at 8.6. Personally, I would rather have a 9 under rather than an 8.5 over, because for the Cardinals, since the beginning of the month of July, they are a bottom 3 team in all of baseball in terms of run creation, and you just don't have a lot of home run power in this lineup, as you've been able to have Wilson Contreras do a nice job being able to supply this team with 14 plus home runs. He's up to 16 overall this season. Then Alec Burleson, 14 home runs. He's hitting about a 280, but have a lot of other guys that have just struggled in general. They do get back Ivan Herrera, who's posting up a 300 average with 10 home runs. You've had Brendan Donovan hitting about a 280, Mason Wynn, Alec Burleson, both in that neighborhood about a 270 to 280, but the young guys, Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, Nolan Gorman, you just have a lot of guys in a 231 or lower. Pedro Baez, when he's gotten at bats, he's been giving you a 252 on base with not a lot of power. And for the Cardinals, this is still a relatively rock-solid bullpen. Even though they traded away Ryan Helsley at the trade deadline, you still do have a lot of guys who are able to supply a ERA of a 3 or better. Matt Savanson, Jojo Romero, Riley O'Brien have all been very rock-solid in this bullpen. Andre Granillo, he's been having his issues, so that's a little bit of an issue. And John King has not been a king. He's posting up above a 5 ERA. Meanwhile, for the Chicago Cubs, you've got a guy in Colin Ray who's been pitching to a lot of contact this year. For Mr. Ray, his ERA overall for the campaign, that's in the neighborhood of a 4.23, only getting about 6.4 strikeouts per 9 innings. The deep ball's really been what's been haunting him. He's only giving up about 2.5 walks per 9 innings, but he's also giving up over 1.6 home runs per 9 innings. And for Colin Ray, you take a look at what he's been able to do on the road this far this season. It's actually a little bit better than what he's doing at home. His ERA on the road goes down to a 4.12, and he's giving up more like 1 home run per 9 innings. And he does get backed up by a lineup that is in the top 5 in all of baseball in terms of run creation. Say Suzuki, Pete Armstrong, pair of guys with 27 home runs thus far this season, and there's a lot of guys to get on base for them to be able to make those home runs, 2-run shots and 3-run shots, as you've been able to get about a 3.55 on base out of Michael Busch, and he's been able to supply 21 home runs. Kyle Tucker, 3.85 on base, 18 home runs. Carson Kelly, 3.65 on base, 13 home runs, and he missed like 40-plus games this season. And the bullpen has been pretty steady as well. They've taken a little bit of a drop back ever since in May and June. This bullpen was just absolutely magnificent, but you still have a lot of guys posting up a sub-3.5 ERA. Daniel Palencia, Drew Pomeranz, Chris Flexen, Brad Keller, a lot of guys, they're able to go multiple innings for you as well. So I do think that that's going to be massive, and I do think that for the Chicago Cubs, they find a way to get the job done, and I feel like they're being undervalued here. I did some I told it at 8.6 with the way that Ray doesn't give up a ton of hard contact on the road, but gives up a lot of general contact, and Palante does as well. So here at the 8.5, I like the over, and I do like the Cubs on the money line. 963, 964 on the card. The Colorado Rockies are on the road against the Arizona Diamondbacks. Eduardo Rodriguez goes for the Saints, and Brandon Blaylock is on the bum for Colorado. And Colorado, sizable underdogs between plus $1.90 to plus $2, anywhere between minus $2.20 to minus $2.35. The number on Arizona, 9.5 is the total. The under is minus 115. Over is minus 105. If you're looking to lay a run half with Arizona, you're going to be getting that at a minus 115, and I'm willing to lay the minus 115 here. I'm willing to go pretty much up to minus 115 and not a hair more. For Eduardo Rodriguez, it's been a rough year if you take a look at the ERA, but he's still getting over 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, and I do think that there's a little bit of upside with him, because if you take a look at things ever since he came off the injured list, he's actually been a whole heck of a lot better. He's had 1 or 2 bad starts just completely torpedo his numbers, as he has given up now 2 earned runs or fewer in all but 3 of the starts since he came off the injured list, and overall for the season, 5.53 ERA, but closer to a 4.56 fielding independent, 1.7 home runs, not necessarily great, but again, getting those strikeouts, and he goes up against the Colorado Rockies team that's dead last in the big leagues with regards to road on base percentage. For the Colorado Rockies, you just don't have a lot of guys that are producing for you other than Hunter Goodman. Goodman has been able to give you 20 plus home runs, over 10 of them have come on the road, but you've got Mickey Moniak, who's been able to give you a few bombs. He's up to 15 plus as well. He's been able to give you a few on the road as well, so I mean, that's been a bit helpful for the team, but then you've got a lot of guys that just have not been able to reach base, both at home or on the road this year, like a Brenton Doyle, Adele Amateur, guys like this hitting at 225 or lower have been very awful. And Jordan Beck, while he's hitting at 280 overall this season, and he's been able to pound out 14 home runs, when he has been on the road, he just has not been the same player, as he's hitting more like a 224 on the road. And for the Arizona Diamondbacks, no doubt about it, it's a lineup that is very much gutted, with no more Eugenio Suarez, along with Josh Naylor, but still, you've got Corbin Carroll, who's been able to give you 23 home runs, starting to pick it up a little bit as well after he had a rough go of it his first few weeks coming off the injured list. Ketel Marte has slowed down with the deep ball, but still getting a home run every about 13.5 at-bats. He's been able to give you above a 380 on base. Lourdes Gurriel is hitting about a 250 with 14 home runs. Now they're looking to some of these younger guys like a Tyler Locklear, Blaze Alexander, to be able to give some production, and the Angels wonder James McCann has been able to sort things out at the catcher spot. And you've got 2 of the bottom 5 teams in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, as you've got just so many guys for the Diamondbacks posting up an ERA above a 4. Jake Woodford, Kyle Backus, John Curtis with 2 S's. So Andrew Selfranks, that's coming off the injured list, has been actually really good, but Jalen Beeks, the list goes on. And for the Colorado Rockies, much of the same for them, as you've had Jaden Hill, Anel Shavili, along with Seth Halverson, Victor Vodnik, all posting up ERAs above a 4, aside from Vodnik, and Halverson now lands on the injured list. Zach Agnos is dealing with an injury, so you've got a lot of less than savoriness there. And for Brandon Blaylock, he's been quite a bit better when he has been on the road rather than at home this season, but still not a guy that has been highly effective in general. As for Bradley Blaylock, I think I called him Brandon, I apologize to Mr. Blaylock, 7.68 ERA. He's given up nearly 2 home runs and 2.6 walks per 9 innings, and he's getting 4.2 strikeouts per 9. So I do think that the Diamondbacks get to him and get to him good. Did set my total 9.3 because the Colorado Rockies have had a tough time scoring on the road all season long. Bottom 2 in terms of runs per game, away from almost less than 3.2 runs per game. So like the under and the run line here of the Diamondbacks, 965, 966 on the card. The New York Yankees play out the Houston Astros. Framber Valdez is on the bump for the Astros, and Luis Eel is on the bump for the Yankees. And Yankees do find themselves as slight underdogs, anywhere between plus 104 to a plus 110, and minus 117 to a minus 127 is that number on Houston, with 8 being the total. Over and under both at minus 110. And for Mr. Framber Valdez, I set him at a minus 126, so I'm going to be willing to lay it with the Astros money line for Valdez. He just has been so rock solid for the team this season, as he really doesn't give up a lot of walks. He's been able to do a nice job in terms of upping his swing and miss stuff as well. 9.3 strikeouts per 9 innings, second best of his career, giving up only a half home run per 9 innings, 283 ERA, 289. Fielding independent is coming off of giving up 6 runs in his last start against the Boston Red Sox, and he does have to face off against a Yankees team that, even with having Aaron Judge being out for a few weeks, they're still a top 6 team in terms of runs per game. And now you've got Judge back, over 36 home runs, doing a great job in terms of his over 440 on base, and you do have quite a few other guys that have been able to supply at least 18 home runs this year. Cody Bellinger, Jazz Chisholm, Ben Rice, Trent Grisham, all these guys have had some pretty solid power. And for Anthony Volpe, along with Austin Wells, both of these guys 16 plus home runs, but both are hitting at 220 or lower with less than a 290 on base. And for the Houston Astros, got a pair of guys in Christian Walker along with Yenier Diaz at 15 home runs apiece. Both have been giving you less than a 305 on base, so Cam Smith has been able to move the line, hitting about a 250. Getting back Jeremy Pena is big, hitting for over a 380 on base. He's been able to give you double-figure amount of homers. And Jose Altuve, looking like the Jose Altuve of old. Go to ZP yesterday, 20 bombs. He's hitting at 280. Carlos Correa coming back in the fold, even though his power's not been there. He has been solid in terms of being able to get on base and move the line. And for the Astros, just so many guys with a sub-3 ERA in this bullpen right now. He's currently injured, but Sean Dubin, Brian King, Brian Abreu, Caleb Bohr, Bennett Sosa, Josh Hader, all these guys have been rock solid for a bullpen that is currently in the top 5 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. And for the New York Yankees, haven't been able to get quite as much of that. Luke Weaver has really struggled since being off the injured list. Now you pick up Camilo Duvall and David Bednar, who are posting up a sub-335 ERA at their respective stops, but both of these guys have had a rough first week with the New York Yankees. Tim Hill has been able to give you sub-3 ERA, but you have to have a lot of caution with Luis Eel, as he made his first start of the season about a week ago against the Miami Marlins, 3 1/3 innings, walked 4, gave up 5 runs, and for his career, he gives up 4.5 walks per 9 innings. He's like the living embodiment of Rick the Wild Thing Vaughn, as he'll get a lot of strikeouts, but he'll give up a lot of walks. He's very wild with regards to that command. So I do think that this is a circumstance where you're going to see the Astros be able to go out there, get the job done, and get to Eel. So I did set my total at 8.2. I like the over and the Astros on the money line. 967, 968 on the card. It is the Angels, and they're on the road against the Detroit Tigers. Charlie Morton is on the bump for Detroit. You say Kikuchi. I say he's starting for the Angels. And total on this game is 8.5. Under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. And minus 132 to minus 144. That number on the Tigers. And between plus 118 to a plus 125 is that number on Los Angeles. And for Los Angeles, I did set them at a plus 148. So I am going to be willing to lay it here with the Detroit Tigers. I recognize that Charlie Morton has had a less than tremendous year. Overall, he's been posting up over a 5 ERA, but he's been better of late. Even in his first start with the Detroit Tigers, he goes up there against the Philadelphia Phillies, gives up 1 run over the course of 6 innings. So he's really been able to round into form. His numbers are very much just warped by the fact that the first month or so of the season with the Baltimore Orioles, man, he was really, really bad. But if you take a look at things, we're going to call it ever since the end of April 29th on, he has made in this time span 18 total appearances. He has given up 3 earned runs or fewer in all but 2 of them. Now, there is a little bit of a caveat with that, as some of them came out of the bullpen, but I mean, before that stretch, he was posting up a 10.36 ERA. He has been able to knock that down just a little bit. He's overall at a 5.20 ERA, which is still not amazing, but if you take a look at things in his last 18 appearances, that's down to more like a 3.69 ERA. In this time span, he's been giving up about 1.1 home runs and just a hair over 3 walks per 9 innings, and then you just don't have a ton on the flip side for the LA Angels in terms of getting on base. They're an all-or-nothing team, as they do rank in the top 5 in terms of home runs on a per-at-bat basis. Taylor Ward leading the way. He's been able to supply 26 home runs, right around about a 305 on base out of him. But even Mike Trout, who's been able to give you 20 home runs this season, he's only been able to, in that neighborhood, about a 235, 240. Nolan Schunel has been able to move the line, give you about a 360 on base. Zach Neto, 15-plus home runs. He's been able to hit about a 265 as well. But Luis Rengifo, 6 home runs, less than a 300 on base. You've had a just awful season from Ori Soler as well, and he's been dealing with injuries recently. Joe Adell setting fire to the rain, as he's been able to give you over 20 home runs, but again, hitting just a 230 as well. And for the Detroit Tigers, you do have Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, pair of guys that will give you 23-plus home runs apiece. And then for Torkelson, he's up to about a 330 on base, but plenty of guys around him that are able to move the line and are able to make these home runs go from solo shots to 2 to 3 run shots, as the only guy in the starting lineup yesterday for the Detroit Tigers that was hitting below a 260 going into the game was actually Spencer Torkelson, as pretty much everyone else, Dylan Dingler, Wencio Perez, Javi Baez, Zach McKinstry, Cole Keith, Gleyber Torres, they're all hitting in that neighborhood like a 260 to 275. Not necessarily popping off in amazing fashion, but certainly good enough. And for Yusei Kikuchi, he does have some very demonstrative home and road splits for 1, and 2, he's been giving up a lot of walks. As for Kikuchi overall for the season, 3.22 ERA, but 3.98 fielding dependent. He's given up 1.1 home runs and 3.8 walks per 9 innings, but he has been a completely different pitcher when he has been away from Los Angeles, as on the road he's got a 4.27 ERA. He's actually still only given up 1.1 home runs per 9 innings, but just simply has not been the same guy. And for the Angels, this is a bottom 4 team in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Kenley Jansen and along with Brock and Roll Burke have been able to give you a sub 350 ERA, so these guys have been relatively solid, but then everyone else outside of them have just been a complete and utter disaster for you. Ryan Zephyrian, when he's gotten his opportunities, Jake Eater throw in there as well, Jose Fermin. You just go down the list of guys that are posting up over a 4.50 ERA, and it's pretty rampant. And for the Detroit Tigers, Tommy Kahnle has been absolutely terrible for them recently, but you do have Brian Herter along with Will Vest, who have both been able to give you a sub 3.25 ERA. It's been a up and down season for Tyler Holden, about a 4 ERA as well, but I do think that for the Detroit Tigers, they do a nice job of getting to Yusei Kikuchi, and I do think that Charlie Morton is really starting to find good form. So I set my total at 8.4. I like the under, and the Tigers on the money line, 969. 970 on the card. The Orioles are playing us to the Athletics, as Jack Perkins goes for the A's, and Mr. Brandon Young on the bump for Baltimore. Baltimore is a very slim favorite. You're going to be getting them between minus 110 to a minus 115, and going to be getting the Athletics anywhere between even money to as bad as minus 105, as good as plus 105. Total is 10. The over is minus 115. Under is minus 105, and I did set my total 9.7, so I'm going to be in on the 10 under. I recognize that Brandon Young has had a bad year. Right now posting up a 5.88 ERA. The fielding independent is relatively close to that, but that said, you do have a situation where he's been a whole heck of a lot better recently. 3 earned runs or fewer allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts, so I do think that there might be a little bit of upside with him. Now, there's not a lot of upside with the bullpen that is backing him up, as they are in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but hey, so are the Athletics, as Felix Bautista being on the injured list has not helped out this team. Grant Wolfram has been rocking well north of a 5 ERA. Yunier Cano has had some big regression this year, so I mean, for the Baltimore Orioles, you don't have a lot of reliable pieces in that bullpen, but what you do have is an offense that has been a whole heck of a lot better when they've been at home rather than away from home. The Orioles are actually dead last in the American League with regards to runs per game scored away from home, as that's right around about 3.5 runs per game, but 5.2 runs per game scored at home. So these guys have been much better here. You've got Gunnar Henderson along with Jackson Alday, both give you 13 to 14 home runs apiece. For Henderson, he's been able to do a nice job, give you 355 on base. Jordan Westberg is hitting for a double-figure amount of homers. He's up to a 270. Now they're looking at some of these young guys like Ryan Noda, Cade Mayo, guys like this that have not really panned out. Dylan Carlson hitting below the Bedell line of 200, but now they've got Ryan Mountcastle back. He went deep yesterday, and for the Athletics, you've got Brent Rooker and Nick Kurtz both supplying 23 home runs apiece. Kurtz has been able to give you a 385 on base, by the way, and Shea Langoliers, Shea has banged for a 270 average. He was really bad with his batting average last year. Now he's been able to do a much better job finding a way on base. You do have Luis Ruiz and Gio Urshela not really giving you a lot of power, but these are two guys that can do an okay job of moving the line as well, and they're going to need it because for the Athletics, this bullpen has been just all sorts of awful, third worst in the big leagues in terms of ERA, and Jack Perkins was one of your better long guys, and in his first start of the season, through 3 innings pitched, he gave up 4 runs, so he was not comfortable in that spot. Now, Ben Bowden has been able to give you a sub-3.5 ERA out of this bullpen, but likes of a Hogan Harris, Justin Sterner, Grant Holman, you've got a lot of guys that have been giving up north of a 4 ERA for this bullpen, so I do think that things are going to be a little bit volatile in this spot. Do think that the 10 is just a scotch too high, semi-total 9.7, so I'm in on the under and the Orioles up to a minus 126 on that money line. 971, 972 on the card. The Guardians are on the road against the Chicago White Sox. Sean Burke is on the bump for the Southsiders, and you've got Mr. Joey Cantillo going for the Guardians, and Guardians do find themselves as a mid-sized favorite here. You're going to be getting them in that neighborhood of a minus 128 to a minus 135, plus 112 to a plus 118 is that number on the White Sox. 8.5 is the total. Over is minus 115, and the under is minus 105. And I am in on the Guardians. I set them at a minus 136 on the money line. Joey Cantillo has really good stuff. He does need to learn to control it quite a bit more, as his biggest weakness has been the walks. As for Joey Cantillo, he's getting over 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but his walks per 9 rate is one of the highest that you're going to find in all of baseball. So he's right now at 4.9 walks per 9 innings, go along with 11.6 punch-outs per 9, 4.37 ERA, compared to a 3.77 fielding independent. He has given up 3+ runs in 4 out of his last 5 starts, but good news for him is that he goes up against a White Sox team that's currently in the bottom 6 in the big leagues in terms of runs per game, and for Chicago, you just have not been able to get the deep ball going for the team at all. Andrew Benintendi is right now leading the way with 14 home runs. You have between 12 and 13 home runs out of Lennon Sosa, Luis Robert, and Miguel Vargas, and Sosa's actually putting together a good year. He's hitting right around about a 275. Edgar Quiro is able to about a 275 as well, but just a long list of guys. They're currently hitting below a 230 for the team. Luis Robert, Benintendi, I mentioned before. You've got the Joshua Palacios, Josh Rojas, Vinny Capra, just a lot of guys that are materializing. Michael A. Taylor as well. Now, for the White Sox, this has actually been a bullpen that's been in the upper half of the big leagues in terms of ERA. You've gotten some really good long relief out of the likes of Tyler Gilbert, Tyler Alexander, Mike Vasil, who have all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. Steven Wilson has been able to give you about a 3 ERA as well. Now, some of these shorter guys like Brandon Iser, Grant Taylor, they've been posting up ERAs closer to a 4, but for the Cleveland Guardians, this isn't quite the same bullpen as it was 8 seasons ago, especially with Emmanuel Clase right now under investigation. That's not great. Nick Enright, Eric Zabrowski, Cade Smith, though, I'll give you a sub-3 ERA. You've been able to have a relatively good long guy in Jacob Junis come into form. He's about a 3.25 ERA, but Hunter Gaddis has been having his issues. When Tim Aaron has been out there as he's been dealing with injuries, he's been less than effective as well. And for the Guardians, this is a bottom 6 team in terms of runs per game, as their run creation when they are at home is actually a little bit less than they are away from home, but still, you've got Steven Kwan, Jose Ramirez, and Kyle Manzardo pretty much carrying the team. Manzardo, 18 bombs, hitting at 235. Ramirez, 23 home runs, 370 on base, and then Steven Kwan hitting about a 285, and then just a long list of guys themselves hitting below a 220, as you've got Brian Rocchio now up to a 225, so that's great, but still have Jonathan Rodriguez, David Fry, Bo Naylor, along with Nolan Jones, Lane Thomas, all these guys that just have not been able to give you anything whenever Austin Hedges is out there. That's a big giant nightmare, but I just don't have a lot of faith here in Sean Burke. For Burke, if you take a look at the fielding independent compared to the ERA, it just doesn't match up, as he has been giving up a few too many walks for my liking. 4.1 walks, 8.1 strikeouts per 9 innings, giving up 1.4 bombs per 9 as well. He's actually given up 300 runs or fewer in each out of his last 4 starts, but I don't necessarily think that it's sustainable. 2+ walks allowed in 4 out of his last 5 starts, so do think that the Guardians get to him and get the job done. Did semi-total at 8.4, so here at the 8.5, I'm going to be in on the under, and I do like the Guardians on the money line. 973, 974 on the card. The Kansas City Royals are on the road against the Minnesota Twins. Bailey Ober goes for the Twins. Noah Cameron is on the bump for the Royals. The Royals are between minus 115 to minus 120 favorites. Between even money to plus 105 is that number. Minnesota 8.5 is the total. The over and the under anywhere between minus 105 to a minus 115. And for Noah Cameron and the Royals, set them at a minus 121. So I'm going to be willing to lay the money line for Noah Cameron. He's starting to get a few more whiffs, and I think that that's big for him. He was allowing a little bit too much contact in the first month or two of the campaign. About 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. So it's not like earth-shattering or anything like that, but 6+ strikeouts in 3 out of his last 4 starts, 2.5 walks allowed per 9 innings. He's actually given up 200 runs or fewer in all but 3 out of his 15 starts. 369 fielding dependent though, so do have to take a little bit of caution there. And for Bailey Ober, it's just been a bad year for him. His swing and miss stuff is down. His home runs allowed has been pretty high. 2.1 home runs allowed per 9 innings with 7.2 punch-outs per 9, 5.38 ERA, 5.42 fielding dependent. Has dealt with a bunch of injuries, just made his first start off the injured list in a start on August 2nd. Prior to that, he was out for about a month and gave up 4 runs in 5 innings coming off the injured list to the Cleveland Guardians, and now he's backed up by a bullpen that is in the bottom 8 in all of baseball in terms of ERA, and he actually had some good pieces for the Minnesota Twins in that bullpen prior to the trade deadline, but now you really don't have them as you're relying upon the likes of Cody Funderburk, Cole Sands. You did get rid of Griffin Jacks, who was a guy that I didn't like, but Justin Topa, so many guys that are right now posting up above a 4 ERA. And for the Minnesota Twins, Byron Buxton's been great. He's been able to give you 23 home runs. He's up to about a 340 on base, but now he's on the injured list. That's a big giant issue because you really don't have much else with regards to this offense. Ryan Jeffers has been able to about a 260. He's up to 8 home runs. Trevor Larnach, 15 home runs. That's been pretty solid for this team, but then you've got a lot of guys that just aren't really materializing. The young guys like Deshaun Kersey, Mickey Gasper and company, they just haven't been able to give you too much. Royce Wilson's coming off the injured list, has been hitting above a 275, so that's been relatively encouraging. And on the other end, you've got a Kansas City Royals team that surprisingly bought a little bit at the trade deadline. You know, Mike Yastrzemski was able to give you above a 325 on base for the season. Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez, both between 19 and 20 home runs apiece, both hitting above a 250. Bobby Witt Jr. has been able to about a 290 with 16 home runs. And for Kyle Isbell, he's not giving you a lot in terms of power, but he's hitting at 260. Drew Waters only 1 home run and hitting at 240. That's been a little bit less than tremendous. And then likes of John Rave, Jack Caglione, Nick Lofton, these young guys hitting below 215 has been an issue, and Caglione is on the injured list. Really not too much loss there, but Royals have been an upper half of the big league scene in terms of bullpen ERA. Lucas Erceg, Carlos Estevez both give you a sub 270 ERA. You've had John Schreiber really start to regress a little bit. He's up to about a 360 with regards to his ERA. Steven Cruz lines on the injured list, so they have a deal with a few ailments there, but I do think that this team should be able to get the job done against a very gutted Twins team. I did set my total at 8.7, so I'm in on the Kansas City Royals money line, and I'm going to be in on this total over as well. 975, 976 on the card. It is the Tampa Bay Rays, and they're on the road against the Seattle Mariners as Logan Evans goes for Seattle, and Mr. Joe Boyle, Boyle rules, is on the bump for the Rays. 8 is the total. The over is minus 115, under is minus 105, and for Seattle, they're between minus 119 to minus 126 favorites. They're between plus 104 to a plus 109 is that number on Tampa Bay, and this is a circumstance where I'm going to be willing to back the Seattle Mariners. I did set them on the money line at a minus 129. I'm actually quite bullish on the upside of Joe Boyle. It does feel like he's still a little bit all over the place, a prospect who has been able to really just blow guys away. He's right now posting up 8.5 strikeouts to 3.5 walks per 9 innings. Last season with the Athletics, more like 10.5 strikeouts per 9 innings, but has been a little bit just all over the place with regards to command throughout his career. 2.30 ERA in a small sample size thus far, but if you look at him in a actual starter's role, not just a bulk role, because he had one open earlier in the season, but his last 2 starts, 8 1/3 innings, gave up 4 earned runs, so that's a little bit of an issue. And on the other end, you've got a guy in Logan Evans who he's probably doing for a bit of regression on that 4.30 ERA, more like a 5.01 fielding dependent. 7 strikeouts to 3 walks per 9 innings and giving up a home run half per 9 innings. Has given up 3+ runs at each out of his last 2 starts, but he is backed up by a bullpen that ranks in the top 8 in terms of ERA. Matt Brash, Andres Munoz, Edward Bizzardo, Gabe Spire, all these guys being able to post up a sub 3 ERA has been rock solid. And for the Mariners, even though they're only averaging about 3.9 runs per game at home this season, that should be going up because you've got Josh Naylor and Eugenio Suarez now in the lineup to go along. Big dumper Cal Raleigh. It's been a little bit silent over the last week or so, but still 355 on base, 42 home runs. JP Crawford moves the line with nearly a 360 on base. Willie Rodriguez, Randy Rosarena, and Ori Polanco have been able to supply the deep ball as well, only between a 245 to 255 with Rosarena 350 on base, 23 home runs. Rodriguez is up to 21 bombs and Polanco 18 home runs. And then you got a guy like a Ben Williamson who doesn't hit for power, but he moves the line for the team. And on the other end, it's a bullpen for the Rays that has been quite sturdy. Eric Orze, Manuel Rodriguez, Pete Fairbanks, these guys have been able to do a pretty solid job. And getting back Brandon Lau in that lineup allows them to get loud as he's been able to give you 20 home runs. You can tell that there was a big fall off when he was deal with injury over the last few weeks. Junior Caminero has been able to give you 30 home runs. Really doesn't draw a lot of walks, but Jonathan Aranda, he picks up for that. 395 on base. You've got a lot of base stealers on this team as well. Chandler Simpson, 32 stolen bases, hitting nearly a 295. Jake Magnum has been able to about a 280 as well. And then you do have the likes of the catcher spot, Taylor Walls, a whole bunch of guys hitting a 225 or lower. Christopher Morel has not necessarily been amazing. So I do think that for the Mariners, they do just enough to be able to get the job done here. And it is an incredibly pitcher-friendly ballpark. So set my total of 7.9. I like the under and the Mariners on the money line up to a minus 128, 977, 978 on the card. The Rangers play host to the Philadelphia Phillies as you've got Mr. Jacob deGrom on the bump for the Rangers, and Jesus Luzardo goes for the Phillies. 7 is the total. Over is minus 120. The under is even. Minus 128 to minus 137 is that number on Texas. Plus 112 to plus 120 is that number on Philadelphia. And for the Rangers, made them a minus 143 favorite. So I'm going to be willing to back them on the money line for Jacob deGrom. I recognize that his last few starts have been a little bit less than tremendous, but he had a stretch of 17 straight starts where he had given up 3 earned runs or fewer. I knew that wasn't going to be quite sustaining because his whiff rate has been down a little bit this year. He's down to getting more like 9.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. Typically, he's closer to 11 punch-outs per 9 innings, and he hasn't given up the 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, so he's got a 2.80 ERA, 3.65 fielding independence, so that regression was going to come sooner rather than later, but he's also backed up by a bullpen that is ranked in the top 3 in all of baseball in terms of ERA, as you've had a lot of guys just sort of come out of the woodwork and be able to supply a sub-3.25 ERA, the likes of Sean Armstrong, Robert Garcia, I know that he's injured, but Chris Martin, these guys have really been able to step up. They pick up Danny Kalum at the trade deadline, Hobie Milner has been rock solid, and for the Rangers, over 5 runs per game since the beginning of the month of July. That was really the bugaboo for this team, so if you look at the overall season numbers, they don't look great. Like Marcus Semien, Jake Berger, Adolis Garcia are all hitting a 230 or lower. I'll give you just barely a double-figure amount of homers, with Garcia leading the way with 16, but Corey Seager overall 400 on base since the beginning of the month of July. He's up to 16 home runs. You've actually had Kyle Higashioka hit above a 340 since the beginning of the month of July. He has been solid. They get back Jock Peterson, who's had a miserable year thus far, but Josh Young is finding a way to move the line as well, and then you've got a Philadelphia Phillies team that still ranks in the bottom 10 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA. Yohan Duran should be able to help out with that quite a bit, picking him up. He's perhaps the best closer in all of baseball, but you need to be able to get to him. You do have Ryan Kerkering, Matt Strahm, who have both been able to give you an ERA below a 3.35. Tanner Banks has been relatively solid as a long guy as well, but Jesus Luzardo, he had one of the best first 2 months of the season out there in all of baseball, and now he has just fallen straight down the toilet bowl. And I do think that he's going for positivity. 4.32 ERA, but a 3.09 fielding dependent, 10.5 strikeouts allowed per 9 innings. He has given up less than 1 home run per 9, but he's given up 3+ runs in now 3 out of his last 4 starts. And things just really manifested for himself when he was in like the back half of May. He had that 12-run performance given up against the Milwaukee Brewers, and you take a look at what he's done over the last 12 starts. Going into those last 12 starts, he was posting up a 2.15 ERA. Ever since then, that ERA has ballooned up to darn near 6. It's been absolutely insane what we've been seeing out of him. So he's going to need to be able to clean those things up a little bit more. And in that time span, he's been giving up over a home run and a half per 9 innings. And for the Philadelphia Phillies, this has not been quite the same offense when they have been away from home rather than at home. They experience a fall-off of nearly a run per game as Kyle Schwarber, he's right now leading the way at 40 home runs, 380 on base. He's been amazing. And then Bryce Harper, 17 home runs. He has been good since coming off the injured list. Trey Turner has been able to give you 11 home runs, 340 on base, 25 stolen bags, and Nick Castellanos is up to 15 home runs. The bottom of the lineup can sometimes be a little bit hit or miss, so Brandon Marsh has been able to hit about a 270 along with Armando Sosa, but you just never know what you're going to be able to get out of Max Kepler, and I do think that for Jacob deGrom, who goes out there, gives a relatively nice start. I just don't trust an Jesus Luzardo at this point to give you a good start, so I semi-told 7.4 at the 7. I like the over, and the money line of the Rangers, 979, 980 on the card. The Slam Diego Padres playoffs to the Boston Red Sox as Lucas Giolito is on the bump for the Sox, and Michael King hopes to be the king for the Padres. The Padres do find themselves as pretty mid-sized favorites. You're going to be getting them in that neighborhood of a -134 to a -150, +120 to a +130 is that number on Boston. 7.5 to 8 is the total. On the 8, under is -120. The over is even. On the 7.5, over is -120. Under is even, and it's at the Padres at just -124. So +125 or higher. I'm going to be in on Boston on the money line for Michael King. When he has been fully healthy with the San Diego Padres, he has been pretty amazing, and prior to going on the injured list, was putting together a nice season through 10 starts, 259 ERA, 324 fielding pennant with 10.3 strikeouts per 9 innings. But this is going to be his first start since the middle of May, and he only made 1 minor league rehab appearance. That was for AAA El Paso. Now, it's a juice ball league, but he gave up 6 runs in 3 1/3 innings. That's not necessarily encouraging. And on the other end, you've got a guy in Lucas Giolito who's really been able to put it together over the last few months, really since he got torpedoed against the LA Angels about 2 or so months ago. He has been solid overall for the season, 357 ERA, only getting 7.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. That's the lowest that it's been since he was pretty much a rookie, but I mean, he's only giving up about 2.5 walks per 9 innings. He's been able to work himself back into shape there, and last 2 starts, 2 runs allowed over the course of a total of 14 innings, so he has been much better with that regard. And for the Red Sox, they're not quite the San Diego Padres, who are number 1 in the big leagues in terms of bullpen ERA, but they're a top 6 team with this regard as well, and they might have the most reliable closer in all of baseball, and Aroldis Chapman, who's been able to just completely blow teams away by being able to get north of 12.5 strikeouts per 9 innings. But then you take a look at the likes of Brandon Bernardino, Chris Murphy, Greg Weiser, Justin Wilson, along with Garrett Woodlock. All these guys have been pretty rock solid, give you a sub-325 ERA. And for the Padres, you've got the likes of David Morgan, Morgan, Adrian Morejon, Jeremiah Estrada, all locking it down. Even though Robert Suarez has been a little bit shaky at the closer spot, these guys have been very good. And for Boston, this has been a solid lineup. Top 7 team in terms of runs per game. No Rafael Devers, no problem, because you've got Alex Bregman back, give you a 370 on base with 14 home runs. Wilder Abreu is wild out with 20 home runs, hitting about a 250, and just a lot of guys are hitting in that neighborhood of like a 260 to a 272, as you've got Jaron Durance, Adon Rafaela, Trevor Story, all in that neighborhood. Abraham Toro hitting more like a 255, but for Story, he's up to 18 home runs this season. Rami Gonzalez has been able to 300, and you got Masataka Yoshida back, who's been able to give you some good production as well. And then for the San Diego Padres, they were able to pick up a pair of guys in Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano at the deadline that have a double-figure amount of bombs, both give you over a 340 on base, so that's beneficial. It's been Manny Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr. really carrying the mail, both give you about a 360 on base, 17 home runs for Tatis, and Machado is up to 20 home runs for a team that ranks in the bottom 6 in all baseball in terms of home runs on a per at-bat basis, as outside of these two guys, the only other guy with 10-plus home runs, that'd be Gavin Sheets, so you've had your issues there. The catcher spot has been an issue, but now being able to bring in those two guys from the Orioles, that fortifies a lineup that does have Luis Arias at the top, give you about a 290 average. So did set my total 7.7, mostly seeing 7.5s out there, so I'll take the 7.5 over and add a plus 125 or better in on that Red Sox money line, and we have things up with 981, 982 on the betting board. It is the LA Dodgers, and they're going to be playing us to the Toronto Blue Jays, as Chris Bassett as the hook, line, and sinker for the Jays, and it's looking like it should be Blake Snell for the LA Dodgers, but it seems like there's a little bit of question mark with this, as this game is totally off the board, so we have to give you guys my handicap. If you do indeed get Blake Snell going against Chris Bassett, I set the Dodgers at a minus 132 on the money line. I'd be willing to lay up to a minus 131 there, and then a plus 133 or higher. We're going to have the Jays, and made my total an 8.8 and 8.5 or less. I'm going to be in on the over a 9 or higher. I will be in on the under for Blake Snell. He just hasn't pitched a lot this year, as I believe that it is a case where he's only made 3 starts as far this season, and when Blake Snell is on, he's on, but I mean, he went 5 innings in his last start, gave up 3 runs. You didn't look terrible, you didn't look amazing, but Blake Snell coming off the injury list, typically you want to give him a few starts before he's really rocking and rolling, so that's something that I do take very cautiously. And in his 3 starts, again, a small sample size of 14 innings, 5.1 walks, and 7.7 strikeouts per 9 innings, and for Bassett, I feel like he's been a little bit better than what the ERA of a 4.12 will show, as he's got a 3.99 fielding dependent, 9 strikeouts per 9 innings, 2.3 walks per 9, so he's been solid there. He has given up about 1.3 home runs per 9 innings, but he's also given up a grand total of 10 earned runs over the course of his last 5 starts, so he's been pretty stable there, and he's backed up by a bullpen that does rank at the top 10 in all of baseball in terms of ERA. Brandon Little, Braden Smith, Uriel Rodriguez have all been able to give you a sub-3 ERA. They didn't add too much at the deadline, which is a little bit of an issue because, well, Chad Green has not necessarily been great this year along Jeff Hoffman, but for the Dodgers, they really only added Brock Stewart to that bullpen, and they have been in the bottom half in all of baseball in terms of bullpen ERA themselves. Tanner Scott, Kirby Yates are both on the injured list. They do get back Blake Trine, but he hasn't been himself this year with over a 3.5 ERA. Jack Dreyer, he's been solid 3 ERA, but Ben Casparis has seen his ERA go north of 5, and for the LA Dodgers, this team has been in the bottom half in all of baseball in terms of runs per game since the beginning of the month of July. Now, getting back Max Muncy is massive. He's been able to give you over a 360 on base, 15 home runs, and then you've had Andy Paz be able to supply 19 plus home runs. He's been able to hit about a 270. Teoscar Hernandez is sub 300 on base, but 18 home runs, hitting a 250. And then obviously you've got Joe Ohtani doing amazing things, 30 plus home runs, over a 360 on base. Will Smith over a 400 on base as well. But for the Toronto Blue Jays, even though they do take quite a bit of a drop off with their offense when they're away from home rather than at home they're averaging about 5.3 runs per game, more than a full run less when they're away from home. Don't call his name Alejandro Kirk. It's still hitting about a 300 for this team. You've had Bo Bichette hit darn near 300 himself, as he and Vlad Jr. have been able to give you 16 plus home runs apiece for Guerrero, darn near 400 on base this season. Aston Barger is up to 17 home runs, sitting at 265. You've now got back Dalton Varsho. Doesn't hit for a lot of on base, but I mean, the guy has hit 11 home runs and 108 at bats as far as the season, so he's bringing the boom there. You've had George Springer be out on the concussion IL, so that's been a bit of an issue, but Ernie Clement and company still doing a good job of moving lines. So minus 131 or better, looking at the Dodgers, plus 133 or higher, the Blue Jays, and then 8.5 or less, I'm in on the over 9 or higher, the under, and that'll wrap things up for the Saturday edition of the Baseball Betting Show, now part of the VSiN Family Podcast. A big thanks to our good friend Dylan Rockford, who does such great work over the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He joined me in the last segment. If you do like hearing from this fine podcast, Baseball Betting Show, you're able to subscribe wherever your podcast Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and TuneIn. If you have a question, comment, segment idea, what have you for this podcast, you do have one of two ways to be able to fire those in. First one is my Twitter/X timeline at gunit_81. Keep in mind, letters CM, they mean does not matter, so per usual, please do send these into the timeline. And the other way is find an Apple Podcast review. If you rate this podcast 5 stars, it is very much appreciated. And then from there, you're able to fire in whatever you'd like to hear on this podcast via that 5-star review. Coming at you guys every single day throughout the baseball season. That means I'm back with you once again tomorrow. Thank you.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack. Sure, you can post your job to some job board, but then all you can do is hope the right person comes along. Which is why you should try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its powerful technology identifies people with the right experience and actively invites them to apply to your job. You get qualified candidates fast. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you what you're looking for. The needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free. That's right, free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. That's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. ZipRecruiter.com/zip.